I guess you can add Wisconsin to the growing list of states out there that are passing election reform laws, much to the chagrin of Democrats everywhere. But hey, that's just common sense election control, folks. And what we got here, Wisconsin Senate passes GOP-backed election bills, including absentee voting restrictions. You'll love to see it. And that's basically what all of these different laws that are being put in place by the different senates, the different houses out there, all of them are just mostly focusing on absentee ballots, because as of right now, as it stands, we got a couple of other peripheral ideas and different complications out there that might overall affect elections going forward. But what we're seeing right now is definitely abuse of the absentee ballot system. So you need to rectify that issue. And that's what Wisconsin has done right here. The Wisconsin Senate passed several Republican-backed bills on June 9th that would place more restrictions on absentee balloting, which GOP lawmakers have described as measures designed to safeguard elections in the state, while Democrats claim they're designed to suppress voter count. How are you going to cry racism in fucking Wisconsin? What, cows can't vote now? Like it's going to be a fucking tough sell, folks. A measure approved by voice vote, including placing restrictions on ballot drop boxes, yay, which were widely used in Wisconsin during the general election November 3rd, which Biden won the state of Wisconsin, no questions asked. The new bill would stipulate that municipalities won't have more than 4 drop boxes depending on population. Yeah, that's how it should be. You shouldn't just have fucking little post office boxes on every fucking corner. Feel free to drop your ballot off here. Don't worry about the seedy looking fellow behind the corner store over there with a can full of gasoline and a match. Even though I think that they're going to be moving on to grain alcohol now, because that canister of gasoline has gone up tremendously. But that's the gist of the next video. The bill enables the voters to have another option to vote, and it's in a secure place. Senator Alberta Darling, interesting, said about the legislation. According to WPR, I think people care about the integrity of elections. I think that you'd be correct. Another bill passed by the Senate would require individuals who are deemed indefinitely confined, one of the major cruxes of the recounts and the different efforts that happened, specifically in Wisconsin, because if I can remember this one correctly, just off the top of my head, indefinitely confined was extrapolated to include people that were fearful of COVID-19, okay? Not that they had it, not that they were transmissible from it, but that they had it. And then that was an excuse that you could get one of the mail-in ballots in Wisconsin. Now, would you consider just a fear of something as being indefinitely confined? I wouldn't, but no court wanted to hear that case. To provide identification before getting ballots in the mail for future elections. Cool. If you want one, you have to provide a reason that you are indefinitely confined and identification. That's kind of how it should be. The ballots that you get should have your name on it, because if you guys remember, just a little brief history lesson, there's 2 envelopes that come with the ballots, okay? One that would be addressed to you, and then one for the ballot itself, right? So when your ballot is taken out, nobody knows who the ballot is, because we got secret ballot systems, which have their own pros and cons, but that's the system, so we got to play within the rules. We want them all to be addressed, especially if they have to ask for those ballots, okay? Just because you want to send them out in those fucking t-shirt cannons across the entire cul-de-sac doesn't mean that you get to. You should know when that ballot is printed, when that ballot is sent out, when it is delivered to the place where the person has to fill it out, and then when it is collected, who's it collected by, all the way back to the counting facility. And then, you know what, I don't even care who's doing the counting of it. That's the extra step that I would like, but that whole entire chain of possession, that entire chain of command should be documented. There should be something that should be accounted for within the scope of an audit, which, you know what, I still want after every single election, and something that's eventually coming down the pike for Wisconsin. Do remember that one. Keep that in the back of your mind, because that one's coming late summer, I think. No dates specific yet, but they had to pass these bills first. An indefinitely confined voter, according to Wisconsin state law, is someone who is confined by age, physical illness, or infirmity, or is disabled for an indefinite period. Keep that in mind, because that's what's on the books, right? Such a person may be signing a statement to that effect and require that an absentee ballot be sent to the elector automatically for every election. Okay, there's something that we should probably be looking at for that because, okay, you request it once, say, yeah. Okay, you just had back surgery and you can't make it to the polls because you're laid up for like 6 weeks afterwards. You hernia surgery or something like that. You can't just waddle out there and go do that without being in either extreme discomfort or you're just so high on painkillers that you just probably just draw with a great big line down your ballot. But in 4 years' time or even 2 years' time, do you think that you're still indefinitely confined because you're completely healed up from surgery? Yeah, I think we need to be looking at that. But identification, I'd imagine that's probably how they're getting around that one. You're going to have to provide proof that you're still who you are at the place that you live where you've been getting those ballots before. So I like it. Republican Senator Dewey Strobel, that's as Midwestern of a name as I can think, said that a large number of people took advantage of the indefinitely confined status during the COVID-19 pandemic. Yes, I think we might find that out. It's important that we accommodate truly identifiably confined voters, but unfortunately in the last election, we saw other people who weren't truly indefinitely confined, and they were abusing that system. Yup. Republican senators also voted to approve a bill that would prohibit clerks from accepting grant money and equipment from outside groups. I just think that that's a good thing for very obvious reasons. A bill that would place new requirements on voting at nursing homes was also approved. I like this one. Where is it going? That bill would implement notification requirements for family members of residents about the days that voting assistants could visit. Cool. Perfect. So nobody's elderly grandmother or grandfather who are confined to one of these very lovely homes. It's so much better than the Michigan homes, though, because at least COVID-positive patients don't get thrown into there at Governor Whitmer's behest. These ones, you just have to worry about roaming packs of wildlife barging in through the front door. The measure would create a felony penalty for employees of nursing homes who try to influence a resident's voting behavior during the election. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I don't see anything wrong with that. Because you got some orderly who's like, here, Martha, fill out this motherfucking ballot and you make sure that you get that motherfucking right name on there. Otherwise, we're going to have some problems. Oh, your fingers hurt? Well, your back's going to hurt because guess what? You just pulled lawn care duty. You want a warm glass of milk? Well, how about a warm glass of shut the hell up? Bonus points if you know what movie that is. Oh, but of course Democrats are complaining. They allege that state Republicans are trying to suppress voters. How have any of these rules suppressed any voters? Other than maybe just the wills of certain people who want to influence voters, but okay. And claim that such restrictions were racist. There it is. There it is. Yep, called it. Racism in Wisconsin. I got to check the demographics of Wisconsin as a whole because I'd imagine it's somewhere around 80. I've just got this on my phone at the moment. If you just believe me, we're going to worldpopulationreview.com, and Wisconsin, as of 2020, is a shade under 6 million people, 5.8 million. And the demographics, when speaking about the racisms, we got an 85.43% white population. Next up is black or African American at 6.4%, Asians at 2.79, 2 or more races 2.39, other race 2.04, Native American 0.89, so most of Elizabeth Warren can be there, and Native Hawaiian or Pacific Islander 0.04%. Not even any Mexicans to speak of. That's fucking weird. But yeah, no, an 85% white population, because whenever you're talking about racism, it never includes white people because reasons, I suppose. But no, you're thinking that it's somehow going to suppress, 5% maybe, if you lump everybody together and you think that they're a monolith and they would just all vote for Democrats. What are we talking about here? This was a tired narrative when people in Georgia were trying to pull it, especially in, a state that's not even close to being as Caucasian as Wisconsin. So this kind of falls on deaf ears. Oh, let's see what this bitch has to say. These bills are in seek of a problem that does not exist in the state of Wisconsin. Okay, so what? Preparing yourself for any issues that may arise or may arise again and trying to put up the safeguards there? to begin with. You know, this whole idea of planning ahead and being proactive based on what other states across the union have seen. Yeah, that's somehow a bad thing. Representative Melissa Agard, a Democrat. They're making it harder for our friends and neighbors across the state to vote. You live, I don't know who you are, I don't care who you are, but you live in a 100% white neighborhood. I would fucking bet my bottom dollar on it. Especially our seniors, especially our people with disabilities, especially people of color. There it is. Okay, they've addressed seniors previously in this article, and let's go back up there. Okay, yeah, because she says the plain and simple, it's voter suppression and whatever, fuck off. Okay, yeah, so the nursing home bill. Implement notification requirements for family members of residents about the days that the voting assistants could visit. Okay, how does that suppress anything? Listen, you're just telling the people who are on the fucking sheet for the people who are in these nursing homes, you're just telling their next of kin, oh, okay, yeah, just in case, you know what, if Nana decides that she's going to have any sort of problems, if she's going to be making up any stories about some pushy orderly that's out there, sorry, that you should just have a heads up because we're going to have external people coming into the nursing home. So if you need to take appropriate precautions, because remember, this is all out of an abundance of caution, right? Just follow the science. That you should probably give the people who are funding somebody living in a nursing home, you should probably be giving them the heads up. I don't know. No, none of these are racist, ageist, sexist. I don't know. Pick your ist or ob. These really are just common sense election reform laws, okay? And they don't really address any of the other issues that are out there, signature matches. All they do is just take a look at what's going on with absentee mail-in ballots. Something that is important, but again, it's a good first step. And then once the audit in Wisconsin, the rules and the parameters, the people who are going to be conducting it, that gets made available, you can bet your sweet ass we're going to be covering this. And speaking of audits that are going on right now, it's kind of weird, right? Because the last time that we talked about this one, well, that video got taken down, and towards the end of the last video of the day, I'll be explaining why. It was only a couple of weeks ago they were about halfway done from the beginning of the 2.1 million votes in Maricopa County. It took them like a month and a half to get through the first million to get to the halfway point. And then over the past couple of weeks, they've been able to get through the rest of them because, as you can see in this headline, it's been repurposed from being a forensic audit to now just being a hand recount. So again, what are we going to find out? I don't know, but apparently it's supposed to wrap up by the end of the week. Okay, so we got one more day, so let's take a look. Auditors in Arizona expect to finish their hand recount of nearly 2.1 million ballots cast in Maricopa County over the 2020 presidential election. I think the counting will be done by the end of this week. Oh, good man. Former Secretary of State Ken Bennett, a Republican, obviously, told reporters on June 8th at the Veterans Memorial Coliseum, where the audit is, in fact, taking place. The audit teams are shifting resources to ballot evaluation work, including things related to whether the ballot was authentic. I think that'd be pretty important, especially because you can't match signatures anymore. So there's pictures of the ballots. We should find folds in the ones that were mailed in. Yeah, obviously, because not everybody gets a big old legal envelope, and you know how well the mail delivery service kind of handles anything. They take better care of their travel mug than they do with your mail. We should find folds in the ones that were mailed in, which is a vast majority. That's what you'd expect from mail-in ballots, I suppose, right? I think 92% of them work by mail, so folds in the ballots for those who were sent in by mail. There's going to be a few at early voting locations that might be folded differently or not have holes in them. Yeah, but they'd still be folded, so if you see any pristine ones, you gotta kind of question where the fuck they came from, if they are in fact there. I don't know if you can hear me winking, but for those of you who aren't watching the video, one of the microscopic cameras is looking for alignment marks and other things that are supposed to be aligned as far as font and the back of the ballot on an authentic ballot. Cool, definitely do that. I don't see what the problem with that is, but other outlets will be reporting on it as, oh, they're so desperate to find out if Trump won that they're taking a magnifying glass to all the ballots there. What a bunch of nut jobs. Well, they'd know what to slander if they know what they did, so just double checking. Looking at the depression made in the oval when a handwritten writing instrument a fucking pen. Come on, we're all friends here, pal. Is used to fill out marks that oval is as opposed to an inkjet or a Xerox machine making those marks, which obviously I don't want that happening, he said. Yeah, exactly. You want to see that real ballots are filled out by real people who have real intent and a real stake in this. I don't know if that's asking too much, but I think that those ballots should be counted. And the ones, if they find any that were Xeroxed and shipped over on a cloud without any folds, yeah, you should probably take a double look at those. The ballot evaluation will take most of the rest of the month, according to Bennett, who is the Arizona Senate's liaison for the Audit. Randy Pullen, a former chairman of the Arizona Republican Party, who was also serving as spokesman for the Audit, told reporters earlier on June 8th that 1.6 million of the nearly 2.1 million ballots were cast in Maricopa County in last year's election had been counted. Yeah, exactly. So that's why, okay, so you guys are going to count another 500,000 ballots in a couple of days? That's weird. Auditors are also still reviewing data that is captured from election machines, including tabulators, Bennett told the Epoch Times. The Arizona Senate, meanwhile, is still considering whether to expand the audit to bring in a new firm that would examine ballot images and provide a third set of numbers to compare with the original tabulation and the data set that the auditors came up with. I don't see why those weren't implemented to begin with, but I'd imagine those were one of the things that stupid Katie Hobbs with her "I'm too old to be attractive, but if I just let my hair go gray, I can make it look at a little bit more of an appealing silver color, and therefore you can't tell that I'm approaching 60. Fucking finished old bitch, just pack it up. The state senate ordered the audit last year amid concerns of election integrity. It started on April 23rd, and yeah, they had the Veterans Memorial Coliseum until the 30th of June, so it's still going to be a while off before we get any results. I've heard a lot of preliminary numbers out there. I don't know. Some in their late teens, some in their early 20s. Those are the people that are there counting. You read between the lines on that one. I'm not trying to fucking press any buttons at this point. So until we get firm numbers, and who even knows if I'll be able to report on that or if anybody will be able to, because who knows how stringent YouTube will be with enforcing their policies, but I'll be reporting on it somewhere. I don't know. Maybe it'll just be within the confines of this room, just yelling from the top of my lungs, but hopefully we'll be able to catch that. But we got to talk about inflation and one of the most pernicious exploiters of the middle class right now. We got to talk about BlackRock. Don't know what BlackRock is? Well, stick around, you might learn something. With that said, I thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.